What happens after we lose someone we love? We grieve, we remember, and hopefully, we find a way to move on. But today we're diving into a psychological story that asks a deeply unsettling question. What if your grief doesn't just linger? What if it starts talking back?
So we first meet Richard. He's a writer, and he is absolutely haunted by the memory of his fiancée Miriam, who has passed away. His whole world, his tiny apartment, feels like a shrine to her. He's just stuck. You see him talking to the empty air, whispering how much he misses her.
And this is where things get really chilling. This story is all about what happens when that crushing weight of grief pries open a door to something that should have stayed shut. It's about that terrifying line between a cherished memory and an absolute monstrosity.
Okay, so let's start where the story does, inside Richard's apartment. To anyone looking in, he's just a man grieving alone. But inside those four walls, well, he's not alone at all. See, Richard is having these full-on, lively conversations with Miriam. Her voice is just there. It fills the room. One minute she's teasing him, the next she's helping him with his writing when he's stuck. She's not just a memory in his head. She feels like a real constant presence in his life.
And you can imagine, for Richard, this is everything. It's like a lifeline. It means he doesn't have to face the crushing reality of his loss. He gets to live in this illusion that she's still with him. It feels like a miracle, right? A miracle born from mourning. But, as we're about to see, miracles like this can come with a very dark price.
And this is when things start to get weird. What started as comforting chatter suddenly takes this strange, almost seductive turn. The voice's requests become more intimate, more demanding, and it's the first real hint that this is not the loving memory he thinks it is. So let's look at how this all escalates. Because that comforting voice, it soon reveals this insatiable, kind of unholy hunger. It's not just asking for his attention anymore, it starts demanding sacrifice. And it pushes Richard down a path of physical decay and just sheer psychological horror.
And here you can see just how sinister it gets. I mean, it starts small, almost petty. Throw away the groceries your kind neighbor gave you. But then it gets bizarre. Eat raw animal organs. Then it's gruesome. Go get the severed head of a grizzly bear. And finally, it crosses the ultimate line, invading his dreams and then telling him to invite someone else into those dreams as well. Every single demand is designed to isolate him and feed whatever this darkness is.
And all of this has a very real physical cost. Richard's own body starts to waste away. He becomes this ghost of himself. His ribs are showing, his legs are way too thin. These aren't just symbolic acts, they are literally consuming him. His physical decay is a perfect mirror for what's happening to his soul. But just when you think Richard is completely lost in this nightmare, a little flicker of light appears. His new neighbor, Lily, shows up. And she represents everything his life is missing right now. Normalcy, hope, and a healthy path forward.
Now, this is so important because Lily is also grieving. She lost her husband, but just look at the contrast in how they handle it. Richard chooses isolation, secrecy in these dark rituals. Lily, on the other hand, chooses community, openness, and shared remembrance. She's the walking embodiment of the healthy path Richard could have taken. So they end up sharing a meal at a diner, and it's like a breath of fresh air. For the first time in forever, Richard is connecting with another living person. They talk about the people they lost, their passions, their pain, and in that moment, you can see this possible future for him, one with laughter and connection and actual life. But Richard's dark past isn't done with him, not by a long shot. Turns out the key to this whole mystery is held by the building's quiet, unassuming janitor, a guy named Phil. And his secret is about to come spilling out in the most tragic way imaginable. The weight of what Phil's done just becomes too much for him to carry. He tries to hang himself, but he survives. And lying there in a hospital bed, absolutely broken and terrified, he decides he has to confess the horrifying truth to the one person he thinks can help, Lily. Phil starts to tell his own story of loss. He explains how after his wife Jane died, this strange, sick-looking woman approached him at the hospital. She knew his name, she knew his wife's name, and she came to him with this unbelievable offer.
I mean, can you imagine hearing those words in your darkest moment? This woman claims she's a messenger from his dead wife, promising him a reunion that should be impossible. For a man who felt like he had nothing left to live for, that temptation was just too much to resist.
And that was the catch. Just a simple invitation. Drowning in his sorrow, Phil accepted. That very night, he heard his wife's voice again. But then he made a tragic, terrible mistake. He saw his neighbor Richard spiraling in his own grief, and he shared this dark gift.
So here it is, the big reveal. The voice Richard has been obeying isn't Miriam. It was never Miriam. And the voice Phil heard wasn't his wife. It's a parasitic entity, some kind of malevolent force that mimics the dead to prey on the grieving. It feeds on cruelty, and it demands worse and worse sacrifices just to maintain its connection. Okay, so now that this horrifying truth is out in the open, the story just barrels toward this incredibly tense standoff. The lies are exposed, and our characters are on a collision course with threats that are both human and supernatural.
And look at how this all converges on a single day. In the morning, Richard blows off a desperate warning from Phil so he can spend this perfect, romantic day with Lily. He's choosing a real future. But when he gets home that night, Phil's friends are waiting for him with an ultimatum. Get out of town or we expose you. And at that exact same time, Lily learns from Phil the most terrifying news of all. The entity is getting ready to find a new host.
So Richard is standing at the ultimate crossroads. He has just tasted real happiness with Lily, a future he can actually touch and feel. But then he comes home to face the consequences of this dark secret, an obsession that has literally consumed his body and his soul.
And this is right where the story leaves us hanging. He's trapped. On one side, there's an ultimatum from men who want him gone. On the other, there's a warning about a supernatural predator looking for its next meal. Will he find the strength to finally resist the voice of his past and fight for a future with Lily? Or is it already too late?